فاشرف بالاشتغال بالعلم ولا تبغي به ما عشت يا ذا بدلا ويا له من شرف عظيم.
الحمد لله رب العالمين، له الحمد الحسن والثناء الجميل، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له يقول الحق وهو يهدي السبيل، وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. The book inshaAllah ta'ala that we're going to start today is called Jilbab al-Mar'at al-Muslimah. This kitab is written by Al-Shaykh Al-Allama Muhammad Nasiruddin Al-Albani rahimahullah. Al-Shaykh Al-Allama Muhammad Nasiruddin Al-Albani. So the scholars, when they start a book, they speak about the book and they also speak about the author of the book. So inshallah ta'ala, many of you probably know of Shaykh Albani. You've read some of his works, but you probably don't know his biography. So inshallah ta'ala, a very abridged biography of the author, rahimahullah, we will do before we start the kitab. Who is the author of this book? His name is Al-Shaykh Muhammad Nasiruddin Ibn al-Hajj Nuh Al-Albani. The Shaykh, in the Islamic calendar, he was born 1333, which is in accordance to the in accordance to the Gregorian calendar. The Shaykh rahimahullah was born 1914. That's World War I. 1914. Shaykh Albani was born World War I. And he was born in a city called Ashqudara, which is the Asimah. It is the capital of Albania. And I don't know if it's the capital now. It used to be the capital when the Shaykh rahimahullah, but I don't know if it's the capital now. I'm not sure. The Shaykh rahimahullah is from a poor family. Shaykh was from a poor family, but there was a family that was in love of knowledge. And you don't really find that common in the Albanian community, that the knowledge and the deen is like that. Shaykh was from a family who loved the ilm and the knowledge and gave importance to it. His father, Shaykh Al-Albani, he was a marji', he was a reference point for the people. He would teach them and he would guide them in their questions and their requests. His father, Shaykh Al-Albani's father, Al-Hajj Nuh, he took his family to Dimashq, Sham, to stay there after the leader of that time, whose name was Ahmad Zaghu, who was the king of Albania, had deviated from the path that the country had, which is some Islamic. It started to adopt more secular approach. His father took him from Albania and he took him to Dimashq, Sham. And Shaykh Albani used to always say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with many things. And one of the things Allah has blessed me with, Shaykh Albani used to say, is that my father took me out from Albania and took me to Sham, Dimashq. The Shaykh rahimahullah, he finished his studies, his primary. He finished his primary دراسته الابتدائية in مدرسة الإسعاف الخيري in Dimashq. And his passing rate was بتفوق. It was with distinction. The Sheikh passed greatly, and he was sharp as an individual. His father, Sheikh Al-Albani, used to not like this. He didn't like the school system. He wasn't in favor of it. He didn't like it. The dirasat, the madaris al-nizamiyya, these schools and the way they are organized, he didn't like it, the Sheikh. The father of Sheikh Al-Albani, rahimahullah. And he didn't like these schools because of the religious angle. The way that the person would lose their deen, and the way it was, he didn't like it. So his father made a decision that he, Albani rahimahullah, will not finish school. He took him out of the school, and he placed for him manhajan ilmiyan. His father placed for him a methodology in studying the religion. And Shaykh Al-Albani, in that time, he studied the Quran. And his father made him also study tajweed, nahu, and sarf. So Shaykh Al-Albani, rahimahullah, he studied the Quran. He also studied tajweed. And he also studied nahu, grammar. And he also studied sarf, morphology. And he also studied fiqh al-madhab al-Hanafi. He studied the madhab, or the Hanafi madhab book. He did. And he finished the Quran with his father. And he memorized it بِرِوَايَةِ حَفْصٍ عَنْ عَاصِمٍ. He memorized the common riwayah that we know, the riwayah of Hafs and Asim. The Shaykh rahimahullah, he studied with a Shaykh Sa'id al-Burhani. And he studied with him Maraqi al-Falah, which is in a fiqh of Hanafi. He also studied other books of language and balagha at that time. And the Shaykh rahimahullah used to give a lot of importance to making sure that he participated in the lessons and also in the seminars and conferences of Allama Bahjat al-Baydar. Shaykh Bahjat al-Baydar, Shaykh Al-Albani used to put a lot of effort and hard work in making sure that he participated in the durus and the nadawat, the lessons and also the conferences and the seminars that were done by Al-Allama Bahjat al-Baydar. Shaykh Al-Albani took from his father an occupation which was fixing watches. His father used to fix watches, and that's how he used to bring rizq to his family. And so Shaykh Al-Albani, he studied that from his father as well. And he became perfect at it, Shaykh Al-Albani. فَأَجَادَهَا, he perfected it until he became what? حَتَّى صَارَ مِنْ أَصْحَابِ الشُّهْرَةِ فِيهَا. He became very well known for it. People would come to him over everybody else. And that's where he would make his money from. Rahimahullah. And this can show you something, which is that the Shaykh was a daqiq person. Daqiq means what? He would look at minute details. As he would fix watches, would have to really look deep at things. And so Shaykh Al-Albani was a person whose character was like that. He was very, very accurate and deep in his personality when he observed things and when he looked at things. Rahimahullahu rahmatan wasi'a. He, rahimahullah, loved working in this profession. He loved working as a what? And he loved this occupation of fixing watches because it gave him a lot of time. لِلْمُطَالَعَةِ وَالدِّرَاسَةِ. He would go and read. He would have extra time left to go out, to read, to study. And coming to Dimashq benefited the Shaykh for him to study the Arabic language very much. And also to study the ulum of the Sharia from its sources. As I just mentioned, his father pushed Shaykh Albani rahimahullah to study what? The fiqh of Hanafi madhab. And his father was a muqallid, a blind follower of the madhab al-Hanafi. But his son, Muhammad Nasiruddin al-Albani, he didn't take that methodology like his father. Shaykh al-Albani used to warn excessively from taqleed, ta'assub al-madhabi, to be fanatic towards madhab. To be a person who is what? Who is muta'assib, who is fanatic when it came to madhab. So the Shaykh rahimahullah, he directed himself in studying ilm al-hadith, studying the science of hadith. He studied it, or he started embarking on this studying ilm al-hadith when he was 20 years of age. And what was it that caused Shaykh al-Albani to go towards hadith? There was a newspaper called Majallatul Manar. It's a magazine, more like. It's called Majallatul Manar. It's a magazine. And this magazine was written by a sheikh called Sheikh Muhammad Rashid Rida. Sheikh Muhammad Rashid Rida. Sheikh Muhammad Rashid Rida, he's the one who wrote this majalla. It was produced. So the Sheikh used to read it. Shaykh al-Albani would read the majalla. And he one day saw on the Majallatul Manar, he saw on it that Muhammad Rashid Rida he referenced, what's his name? Sheikh Abu Hamid al-Ghazali. And as you know, Abu Hamid al-Ghazali is a kitab called what? Ihya Ulumuddin. And Muhammad Rashid Rida, he tackled, what do you call Abu Hamid al-Ghazali in this issue? Authenticating the narration and speaking to him about this regard. So it really fascinated Shaykh Nasir that this was taking place in front of him. He liked what he saw. And the reference that Muhammad Rashid Rida was using to correct Abu Hamid al-Ghazali was from a book called Al-Mughni an Haml al-Asfar في تخريج ما في الإحياء من الأخبار, written by Al-Imam Al-Hafidh Zainuddin Al-Iraqi, the Shaykh of Hafidh al-Hajar. Iraqi has a takhrij on Kitab Ihya Ulumuddin. So Shaykh Muhammad Rashid Rida was using the works and the efforts of Iraqi. He was a great scholar of hadith, and he's a teacher of who? He's a teacher of who? Ibn Hajar. So Shaykh Nasir rahimahullah, when he saw this, he became happy and pleased. And at that time, the first book that Shaykh Nasir started to do takhrij from, or work on, or even to direct his efforts towards in takhrij, was that kitab. This was his first kitab in which Shaykh Nasir rahimahullah, he put his pen and paper on and started to write on the sides. Okay? And Shaykh Nasir, as he said this Majallatul Manar by Muhammad Rashid Rida, he said it was a good opening for me. It was Fatihatu Khairin. It opened good doors for me, rahimahullah, until it became Shaykh Nasir rahimahullah al-ihtimam, high consideration to hadith and its sciences. And he became very well known in Dimashq for this now. He became very well known for hadith, authenticating narrations, looking at works. He became very well known. Until, rahimahullah, he used to come to his shop every day. He would fix people's watches. He would make his daily income. He would buy food from some of the money that he had. And the Shaykh, rahimahullah, would go directly to a big maktaba called in Damascus, called Maktabat al-Zahiriyah. Maktabat al-Zahiriyah is one of the biggest Islamic makatib, one of the biggest Islamic libraries. And the Shaykh rahimahullah, the workers in Maktabatul Zahiriya, when they saw him coming back, coming and leaving at night, they made him a copy of the Maktaba. Gave him a copy, and they also even gave him a room. So this is your room. No one else owns it with you except you. Nobody owns it except this is only for you. So the Shaykh used to sit there and he would read every single book that he could find in the Maktaba. He would read in that Maktaba books that were published and even books that were manuscripts. Books that were what? Manuscripts that have not been published yet. They have not gone, it's handwritten. It takes hours for you to just understand what a sentence is. Shaykh Nasir rahimahullah, he would read those manuscripts. He would go through them and he would work on them. Rahimahullahu rahmatan wasi'ah. As for the first book that he authored himself, that was his works, not a book that he worked on. The first book that he authored from his own efforts and his own work is the Kitab Tahdhir al-Sajid min Ittikhadh al-Qubur Masajid, where he speaks about placing a grave inside a masjid. It's a book which is matbu', is published, many times it got published. Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah, his direction towards hadith was different from many people. You might look and say to yourself, well, they know hadith as well. And this is the difference between him and many. Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah was a man who you could say he was a person of hadith and sunnah, both of them. Many people you can say he's a man of hadith. He busies himself in the science of hadith. But Shaykh Nasir was what? A person of hadith and sunnah. Rahimahullahu rahmatan wasi'ah. Shaykh Al-Albani, through his works, his knowledge of hadith, he used it to propagate and call to Tawheed and Sunnah in Syria. That the scholars and the people or the students of knowledge in Dimashq would come to Shaykh Nasir and they would argue with him and they would debate with him and they would have munaqashat on masail pertaining to Tawheed and masail and niqashat, discussions pertaining to following the Sunnah, blind following, bid'ah. People would visit him and they accused him of, after not being able to discuss things with him and not being able to refute his points, they referred to him as a Wahhabiyun dal, a Wahhabi, misguided individual. They would tell the people not to go to him. When at that particular time, many other noble mashayikh and ulama had respected him. They admired his works when they saw what he came out with. Such as Al-Allama Bahjatul Baytar. He saw Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah's efforts. Al-Shaykh Abdul Fattah Al-Imam, who was a Ra'is Jam'iyyat Al-Shubban Al-Muslimin fi Syria. Al-Shaykh Tawfiq Al-Bazara. And other than them, who were Ahlul Fadl wa Salah, rahimahumullah, who they saw Shaykh Nasir's efforts. And they praised him for his hard work. لذلك, if you today sit down and you listen to Shaykh Al-Albani, his debates, you would be amazed of how powerful and eloquent he was in his arguments and how he was able to portray his points. The person would be so much issues forward, he would listen. And what amazed me by Shaykh Nasir was his etiquette of how he dealt with everybody. He would be quiet. Sometimes you would ask yourself, is he even in the room in the debate? Because it's a tape you're listening to, or it's a recording. Shaykh Nasir hasn't got videos. So you're listening. Your question is he in the room? The person might be speaking for 45 minutes, half an hour, and Shaykh Nasir is quiet. But when he takes over, the way he governs everything, the way he controls the debate and the way it's going, his effort and his ability to convince you, and how calm he is. Calm. easy the way he's talking. Being that man of knowledge, Shaykh Al-Albani's speech is the most easiest when it comes to listening to it. Of course, he sometimes speaks Lahaja Shamiyya. He speaks in the dialect of Sham, but his language is very easy, the way he talks. You would think he's a technical person, the way he would speak, because he's in a technical science. But it's a very simple person. His ayat are to the point. The way he's using the ayah is to the point. Rahimahullah ta'ala. Shaykh Al-Albani's effort in da'wah. Shaykh Nasir rahimahullah ta'ala, his efforts in da'wah were very strong. Rahimahullah rahmatan wasi'ah. The Shaykh rahimahullah, his da'wah was fruitful in the following. Number one, his daily lessons that he would give. He would have 2 lessons a week. The students will come, and even some of the teachers of the universities would come. And the books that he would teach in some of these circles were Fath al-Majid, the Kitab Fath al-Majid, which is the Sharh of Kitab al-Tawheed. He would also teach the book Al-Rawdat al-Nadiyya, which is the Sharh al-Durar al-Bahiyya by Shawkani, and the Sharh of Siddiq Hassan Khan. He would also teach Usul al-Fiqh, the Kitab written by Abdul Wahhab Khallaf. He would also teach Al-Ba'ith al-Hadith, Sharh Ikhtisar Ulum al-Hadith by Ibn Kathir, and the Ta'liqat, the Ikhtisar Ulum al-Hadith is by Ibn Kathir. The Ba'ith al-Hadith is by Ibn Shakir, Ahmad Shakir. He will also teach the Kitab Fiqh al-Sunnah by Sayyid Sabiq and many other things. The second thing that showed that Shaykh's efforts in da'wah was he's traveling. The Shaykh rahimahullah, he used to travel. And he would go to different cities in Syria. He would travel around Syria. He wouldn't just stay in one place. Rahimahullah ta'ala. He would also go to Jordan. And this is before he resided in Jordan. Rahimahullah. And the Shaykh rahimahullah, he also traveled to Western countries. Shaykh Nasir came to the UK. Came and visited the UK. And he did talks and lessons. Shaykh Nasir showed a lot of patience on the harm that he was afflicted with. When it was the year 1960, the Shaykh rahimahullah, he fell under the oppression of the Syrian government, and they arrested him. And the Shaykh was the furthest from politics. He really didn't engage in politics, and he didn't involve himself into politics. And the Shaykh got arrested twice. The first time that he got arrested, rahimahullah, he was arrested for 1 month. And he was arrested in Qal'atu Dimashq, the fortresses of Dimashq. And he got arrested in the same place that Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah got arrested. This place that Shaykh al-Albani got arrested was exactly the same place in which Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah got arrested. Rahmatan wasi'ah. The time that Shaykh Nasir spent in prison for that 1 month, he used to give da'wah in prison. He used to give da'wah to the prison guards. He would give da'wah to the inmates in the prison. He would call them to the sunnah, to the extent that the Shaykh rahimahullah, he had an effect in the prison more than he had in the outer world. He would speak to them about Islamic symbols, the sha'air and the religion, holding on to the sunnah, tawheed and aqeedah. The Shaykh rahimahullah would. The second time the Shaykh rahimahullah, so that first time when he got arrested, and the government saw the need to release some of the prisoners, they released him rahimahullah. And then after a period of time, they called him back in again. And this time they arrested him for 8 months. And he stayed in prison the second time for 8 months. But it wasn't in the Qal'atu Dimashq. This time they didn't take him there. They took him to another prison. Rahimahullah. He stayed there for 8 months. And what he did in those 8 months was he worked on the Kitab Mukhtasar Sahih Muslim. He requested if that book could be brought to him and a pen and papers. And he started to note down points on the book and things of it, and he started to work on it. You can take the believer away from everything else, but knowledge for him is what? It's like oxygen. So the Shaykh rahimahullah, he worked on it. Rahmatan wasi'ah. Shaykh Nasir, the reason why he was able to achieve that, even in prison, was that he was a very sincere person, Shaykh Nasir. His sincerity level was very high. One of the most famous statements that he used to say a lot is, حُبُّ الظُّهُورِ يُقْسِمُ الظُّهُورِ. He used to say, loving to be out in the open and expose yourself to the people will break your back. حُبُّ الظُّهُورِ, loving to come out and show off, يُقْسِمُ الظُّهُورِ, will break your back. ولذلك, a man one time invited the Shaykh rahimahullah, Shaykh Al-Bani, invited him over and he said to him, Shaykh, I want you to come and visit my house. And then what happened was, when he invited the Shaykh and told the Shaykh, please come to me, he also announced it on social television. He announced it and told the people, Shaykh Nasir is coming to my house. Al-Bani is going to visit my house. He said it to people. So many people in number came to see the Shaykh, to listen to him. When the Shaykh found out, he refused to go. And so people asked him, Shaykh, why have you refused to go? And he said, حُبُّ الظُّهُورِ يُقْسِمُ الظُّهُورِ. Loving to bring yourself out and to be the forefront will break your back. So one needs to ask himself today, sincerity and loving to bring yourself out and to be whenever something is done, instead of just choosing to be maybe at the back of things, to just love to be at the front, it really goes against the secret of success. The Shaykh was also, one of the things that he was very good at is his amana fil istishara. If somebody told him something, he would keep that for them. Even if whatever happened between them later, the Shaykh would never tell anyone about it. Sometimes some people, they have a secret of yours, and they would use it in their advantage. And they would use it against you. One of his students one day, he wanted to sell some of his books due to financial reasons. So he told the Shaykh, he said, Shaykh, do you think I should sell some of my books to get some financial aid and support from it? Or do you believe I should be patient? And what do you think? The Shaykh rahimahullah, he said, don't sell your books. Don't sell your books. And be patient. Student said, Jazakallah khairan, Shaykh. Student left the Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala, and then the Shaykh sent to the man that asked him, he said, inform him not to sell your maktabah, don't sell any books or any of your stuff, and inshaAllah ta'ala I will give you what you need financially. I'll give you the money that you need. I will borrow you it until you're able to give it to me. Not when I want it, but until you can give it to me. So this was, if he was consulted and somebody told him something, he would give them the best choice that he thought was the best. And you have to remember, he, rahimahullah, was financially not well off. He reached a level that Shaykh Albani never used to have paper to write on and pen. إلى هذا الحد من الفقر. That he would sometimes write on, if anybody, the post letters that would come to him, he would use that he would not throw them away. Those papers that came to him, he would use those papers to benefit from it as paper and to write on the takhrij of the hadith on it. Some of his takhrij and some of his authentication of the hadith were written on some post papers because of the fact that the Shaykh didn't have money. One of the things that Shaykh Nasir was very unique in was ad-diqqatu fil mawa'id. Allahu Akbar. He was precise when it came to promises. He gave you his word and he told you something was going to happen. He was daqiq on that. Ad-diqqatu fil mawa'id. Promises that he gave done and he gave were precise. Rahimahullah ta'ala.